How would you all feel if you were in a room with Steve Kerr and you looked at him and went, Steve, what about development? And he flatly looked back at you and went, not my job. I'm an older coach. I'm not very good at it. I let my younger coaches handle the development. Okay. Well, it's trigger time. Here we go. We're not naming any names at all. We're just going to let you listen to something that Steve Kerr said on the Glue Guys podcast with Shane Battier and Alex Smith and Ravi Gupta. This is the Glue Guys podcast.
I just think it's really important to collaborate with your staff and to encourage the young coaches to really bring a lot of ideas to the table. I really lean on my younger coaches. One of the ways the league is so different now is that we're now a developmental league. You know, when you came into the league, when I was in the league, we were already developed. You played for Coach K for 4 years. I played for Lute Olson for 4 years. We were ready. And the other part that was different was the schedule was different. So we'd have like 3 games in 4 nights. Then you'd have 4 days off. So you'd have 2 great practices. Now the schedule is basically you play every other day all year long. We don't practice anymore. So we have to develop these 19-year-old kids who are coming into the league without much practice time. That has meant an entirely revamped kind of development program. And frankly, I'm not great with it. Like, I'm an older coach. I'm a disciple of Phil and Pop. And so I lean on the young guys to really install great development drills, decision-making stuff, things that I never did or knew how to teach. But the key is to figure that out and let the people who can do those things, let them do it and empower them. And I think that's how you progress.
I'm an older coach. I'm not very good at it. I let my younger coaches handle the development. Okay. Well, what did everybody hear there? What did you hear?
I heard a couple things. One, the schedule is such that you don't have practice time, and he's right. And, if you look at this upcoming schedule, we already talked about 14 back-to-backs, and some of those are home and then away, or then away and then home, and you have that 10-game homestand where it's 3 weeks, and there's a little bit of practice time in that, but you don't have the same amount of time to practice as you used to. And then the other piece is I'm an older coach, and you look at the coaches, and I'm looking right now, Rick Carlisle's older, Doc is older, and Billy Donovan's the same age. And then you get to Steve Kerr at 59, and you've got all these coaches now who are 36. Joe Mazzulla, Will Hardy is 37. Mark Degno is 40. Like, all these other coaches now are younger, and I think there's a certain amount of connectivity being younger. You can relate to younger players better than Steve, who is, kind of from the old school.
Such an interesting comment, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, because I do think Warrior fans have had many a battle over the last handful of years about that word, development. And the team's development process and how they're doing with that. And I have to admit, just as a fan, I look at this thing and it's very, very conflicted in my mind. There's no sports fan out there that is not excited by the idea of the young homegrown player coming up. That is, like you and I have talked about this before. I think that's the best stuff in sports. That's why Bryce Eldridge is already a household name. Even though he's never played Major League Baseball, he's not allowed to buy beer, and he might never be good. But he's a household name because homegrown, potential, superstar, that's what people absolutely love. So I get the desire to see that, but I also know that when the focus of an organization is on young developing players, that usually means your team's not very good. That's what that means.
Right.
There's nobody right now watching the Kansas City Chiefs goes, hey, who's the young people that you got? Who you bringing up? Nobody does. If you're in any sort of a window, that's not the focus. I'm not saying you don't do it. You always want to do it. But I think depending on your sport and depending on your window / situation, I don't even know to what level you can focus on it. And I do think that is sort of the underbelly rub of everything related to Jordan Poole, Jonathan Kuminga, or any other name that you want with this particular organization, which is they've been criticized, sometimes rightfully so, for the lack of development, but it's all been at a time when, quite frankly, there is no time or room for development. I don't know how that would have been a focus. Whenever people, it's no different than what happened with Trey Lance. Well, you got to give him time. Don't got none. Don't have any. Sorry. Like trying to win over here.
Yeah, well, they tried to develop him, and he got hurt. And whether or not they were using him right or not, I don't want to get into that debate because you and I have a difference of opinion, but they were trying to at least play him and see, and he got hurt. And the one about Jordan Poole always kind of sticks in my craw because they did develop him.
Yes, they did.
He went to the G League, and he got better, and he came back, and he got good, and then they won a title, and then he came back the next year and averaged 20 a game, and it wasn't working for him a number of different facets, and so they traded him. It's not like they didn't develop him. And go back to Kevon Looney, who was the first player taken under the Steve Kerr era. Are you telling me that he didn't develop under Kerr? He played 599 games and won 3 titles. So just because Kevon wasn't an all-star doesn't mean that he didn't develop. So the whole thing about Kerr doesn't develop players, I have the list if you want me to pull it out. The number of guys who they have let go, none of them have gone on to do anything. Anything greater than what they did here.
By the way, does he get any credit on any level for the development of Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green, who were all good players, but far from finished products?
And young. I mean, Steph would be the one I wouldn't give him credit for, but I think Draymond and Klay, that was their 3rd year in the association.
And was Draymond even starting yet?
He started starting that year.
That was like when David Lee, right, went down, and they okay. So yeah, like, does he get anything for those homegrown players becoming who they became?
Yeah, and the other one is Harrison Barnes, who was also a young player, and he developed to a point where he wasn't as good as they probably wanted him to be, and he went on to be a little bit better than he was with the Warriors, but he hasn't won more. So the whole thing about development. Like Jacob Evans. Okay, you didn't develop him. Well, he didn't do anything anywhere either. Patrick McCaw, same thing. Patrick Baldwin Jr., Ryan Rollins.
James Wiseman.
Right. So, and Wiseman, I know he got
hurt a bunch.
I still think that he can be an interesting one if he's going to get additional chances because he's 7-1.
But he's not going to ever look like the number 2 pick in the draft.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree with that. And obviously all roads lead to Kuminga, and this conversation, of course, leads to Kuminga because if they sign and trade him or if he plays one more year and then leaves, if he goes on to be like 25 a game and wins a bunch of games and goes to the playoffs, well, then you could look and say, y'all messed that one up.
I got a question for all you, and Grandy, you can jump in on this too. Do y'all remember what Lucas? Yeah, come on. Well, I never know. Yeah, I can't see you. Anyway, do you remember the Shams tweet, the first one? Go back a couple years. When the Shams tweet came out about Jonathan Kuminga has lost faith in Steve Kerr, wasn't the word development in the tweet? I wonder if you can look that up, Grandy and Lucas, and see if you can find it. Was the word development, he's lost faith in Steve Kerr being the one in charge of his development or something like that? I want to remember the exact wording of that.
It was January 5th, 2024.
Okay. Oh, was it that recent?
That's, 19 months ago.
I know, but I thought it was prior to last season. But anyway, go ahead.
After sitting the final 18 minutes of the Nuggets loss, Warriors forward Jonathan Kuminga has lost faith in Steve Kerr and no longer believes that Kerr will allow him to reach his full potential, sources say.
Okay, so it wasn't development, it was potential.
But you have to develop to reach your full potential, so I think it plays to...
It's implied.
Right, to what you're talking about. And so that's a report from Anthony Slater in The Athletic.
What if I argued that what Steve Kerr, and I don't think that this was his goal or his aim with this comment, how would y'all feel if you were in a room with Steve Kerr, and you looked at him and went, Steve, what about development? And he flatly looked back at you and went, not my job. How does that grab you?
Well, it's not his job. His job is to lead a team to win basketball games. And you think about development, and I just was searching last year the youngest players in the association. Zachary Richache was 19 for Atlanta, second in the Rookie of the Year voting. Okay, you're Atlanta, and you were not in a championship hunt. This year they will be, and we'll see. Alex Sarr for Washington, fourth in Rookie of the Year. He was 19. He played 27 minutes a game. You're Washington. So you can develop that way. Cade Cunningham's a great example where he gets picked number 1 by Detroit. They stink, and you can go out there and Cade it up all you want, and he has developed.
He's developed.
He's gotten to be really, really good, and they actually are an interesting team this year.
Finally made the playoffs, though.
Right, after year 4. And that's the point about development. When you're in a championship window, it's a lot harder to develop players because younger players like this aren't ready to help you win.
Okay, so fair for me to say, because I do believe this, is it fair for me to say those of you who criticize Steve Kerr and the Golden State Warriors for not, quote, developing Jonathan Kuminga, you want your cake and eat it too? Is that fair? Because that is what I believe. I believe you want the Warriors to develop and contend for a championship in the same year. I don't know how the hell you do that. I've never known how the hell you do that. I think that coaches like Steve Kerr, Kyle Shanahan, I think that they've got a one-track mind. We got a game tonight. Let's win it. Who's ready to help me? I'm not out here worrying at all in the third quarter about what this is going to look like 2 years from now, next year, next week.
Next quarter.
I don't know how you do what they're being asked to do. I don't know how they do what Jonathan has asked them to do. I don't know how they do it.